The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Good morning out there. Hello, Chip. Are you there? I guess Chip is a little busy out there. But we're here. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ, and I'm not sure if Chip's out there, but we'll see what happens. He is there. I just don't think he can hear us. But welcome, and it was a rather boring week last week on Spindle City Straight Talk, and it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. But I would like to see Chip kind of answer us here, but it doesn't seem to be happening too well. There we go. Chip, can you hear me now? Oh, there you go. You've been on air for a while and you just weren't.
Yeah, but not on this monitor. This monitor's broke again. All I see is the background again.
That's okay, Chip. We had our tech guru come running in as usual. Steve Reese saved the day.
Yeah.
He's Mighty Mouse. Here I come to save the day. It was as I was saying though, Chip. It was a rather quiet week last week, so people thought.
Yep.
And you know, our weekend flush did go out. I shouldn't say ours. My weekend flush went out this weekend, which of course started generating a lot of discontent with some people and a lot of, oh, you're so right. It was very interesting because, as usual, Chip, the usual people of accosting us happened the weekend. I was out at the supermarket, and people came running up to me in the produce section. How appropriate. And started saying, keep doing what you guys are doing. Your show is great. It's a wonderful thing. And I really appreciate the support. And like you, I got asked a couple of times for a T-shirt or for something to come out there and help us out.
And by the way, have we started the show? Because I didn't see an introduction.
Yes, we did.
So I did that single bicep on camera. I'm sorry. I thought we were still off the air.
No, we've been on the air now for a little over 3 minutes. So
okay.
But you know, I think one of the things that was interesting this weekend, and I believe it was published today, was the column by Mark Monroe Dion, you know, Mr. You're Not a Credible Journalist to Us, who actually agreed with something we spoke about. And that was the $900,000 bond for Brown yard waste.
And not only that, he also agreed with the fact that the trash fee was nothing more than take money out of your pocket fee.
Right.
So he agreed with a lot of things fundamentally. I mean, they can protest, as the Bard once said, doth protest too much. But the fact is that what we're saying isn't, we're not fabricating this stuff. You know, the reports we report on are actual reports, and the data is actual data. And, you know, we don't fabricate things just because we want to be controversial. But what else happened on this weekend was C. Samuel Sutter conducted a poll.
Ooh, I love polls.
Yes. Oh, I love polls. Yeah. He was, someone called me to tell me that Sam had conducted a poll, and they asked him how they thought Sam was doing, and to grade him on a, well, the individual I talked to gave me double F. I don't know if that's, I don't even know if that's possible, but he gave him a double F. And then, but the questions were very interesting. It was like, how do you think he's doing, and would you support him for mayor? And the other question I thought was very interesting was, how do you think the city council is? Because, of course, I think Sam's concerned about his sellouts. You know, the Three Musketeers, Sam's sellouts. They're very, very concerned about maintaining their status on the city council because of what's going on in the city. So I think it's pretty interesting, and you're right. It's kind of dead. Everybody's preparing for the onslaught of the campaign because, very, very shortly it's going to be August and the primaries in September. And, Sam is gearing up his machine because he really has only one viable candidate running against him. So he kind of can coast through the primary, he thinks. But then again, who knows? July 31st is still not here.
That's right.
Someone else could pull papers. And what would happen if another viable candidate pulled papers? It would be very interesting. But this is the whole thing. Realistically, everything we see is just a rehash or a reaction to what's going on in the community. The fact is, look at the city's in tough shape, and everything that happens in this city is a direct result of the malfeasance. And I believe Mr. Dion even said that the government basically hasn't done much. It's rather ironic because it seems to be pervasive on all levels of government. I think that the traction, and we can kind of go into a little federal on this. We can go to the popularity that the Donald seems to be having. I think the reason that the Donald, Dion wrote an article in the Herald about why he's getting traction, because he's calling out some people. But he's saying things that a lot of people are thinking. And he's also condemning government, which a lot of people are frustrated with federal government, with state government, with local government. And it just continues along the path, and ultimately it will destroy the very fabric of this nation. And that's what basically is happening. Something on a national scene that I saw is and it would probably, you would be well aware of what's going to happen with this. There was a major merge of the healthcare companies. Now we're down from 5 major healthcare companies to 3. Because Cigna merged and another one merged, and now we're down to 3. And when I was watching the discussion about this merge, they were talking about how the Affordable Care Act precipitated this and how this is going to reduce some costs. And then they said, well, what's going to be the end result of these reduced costs? Is the consumer going to realize any of these things? And the panel that was discussing it basically said, well, we don't think so. Based on past performances, the only people that are gonna really benefit are the stockholders. So again, we see a consolidation of big business to lower their costs, and nothing trickles down, to quote one of the great Republican presidents and his theory of trickle-down economics. And I've always said the only thing that trickles down is manure. So nothing trickles down. The fact is that what's going to happen with this is the stockholders are going to get better returns on their stocks. That the consumer, the healthcare consumer, will continue to see increasing healthcare costs in spite of the fact that we're creating virtually a monopoly now. We're down to 3 major healthcare carriers, and everything else is under their umbrella. So this is endemic to what's happening in this country throughout the nation in everything, and that's the problem. The problem is that we have a global economy. We don't have an economy that's based in the United States anymore. These companies have all been allowed to go to foreign countries, get cheap labor, and destroy the American middle class. And with the destruction of the American middle class comes the destruction of a person's ability to improve his lot in life. Because before you could go from, lower class, work hard, get a little education, get yourself in the middle class, lower middle, upper middle class. Not everybody's going to be a CEO or own a big company, because that's the way it is. And these big companies are continuing to make obscene profits. And what happens to the working people in this country? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing happens that's positive. We look at the CEO of Caremark, one of my favorite subjects. His salary with his stock options is $32.8 million a year. $32.8 million a year. That is obscene. For an individual to make $32.8 million is crazy. Running a company that gouges the people for prescriptions. There was just a CBS show about Caremark charging $44,000 for a prescription that you could get over the counter for $34,000. And there's always these glitches, they look for ways to manipulate. But you know, CJ, Fall River is a microcosm what's happening nationally and internationally. And the fact is that people are fed up. They're fed up in Fall River. They're fed up in West Virginia. They're fed up everywhere because they're sick and tired of a government that doesn't do what we tell it to do. And maybe that's why some people got upset when you began your article, When in the Course of Human Events.
Right.
Because it does become necessary.
Oh, there's no question about
to overthrow. It's time for the voters to stand up and do something about this country and this city and everything in between. So that's my rant.
Well, you know, while we're still on some federal issues, the legislature, the federal delegations, voted on 2 issues this weekend. One being GMO, okay? Genetic modified organisms. You'll notice they say organisms. They say that states do not have the right to require manufacturers or producers to label their products non-GMO or a GMO product, because that would be detrimental to the GMO industry. Which, by the way, the GMO industry is one company. It's Monsanto Chemicals.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you buy that can of Green Giant corn or Green Giant green beans...
And you grow a second head.
Exactly. And you grow a second head, you can call your federal delegation. But, you know, I talked about this over the weekend flush. Again, the rights of the people to know aren't important. So the heck with you. Then the second thing that they decided to enact, which I think is very interesting, in Massachusetts it only affects 3 communities, Cambridge, Chelsea, and Orleans, down on the Cape. That was quite interesting. Is if you are a sanctuary city, you will not receive 1 dime of federal crime-fighting money. Not 1 dime. So the people of those communities, whether you like it or not, voted to make their city a sanctuary city. So if you were there and you were an undocumented person and you got arrested or something happened, their community does not report you to ICE, okay? And they won't hold you for ICE, nothing, because you're a sanctuary city. But now you don't get any money. So decisions do have a problem, okay? These decisions do have an outcome and an effect. The cause and effect status is always there. But again, these are our elected representatives who are supposed to represent the will of the people they represent. Now, does that represent the majority? I don't know. I haven't seen a poll on that. So, Congressman Kennedy, Representative Markey, please get us a poll on that so we know.
Yeah, well, we need to do a little bit more research too, because there was also something else they voted on, and I saw a blurb on it, but I have to do further research.
Right.
But it seems as though our extremely liberal and supposedly liberal, pseudo-liberal, have voted, took another vote, and I saw, I believe, Warren's name, and I saw Markey's name, and I also saw, surprisingly enough, Jack Reed from Rhode Island, who is a veteran, and also I saw John McCain's name on it, but it was to reduce veterans' benefits, pensions.
Yes.
And I think that's, if you know, I don't know what I want to find out the reasoning, but I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what the reason is. I can't understand how someone like Jack Reed or John McCain could vote. I don't care if it was attached to another bill or what, you carve it out. I don't know how this nation can ignore its veterans, and they do it on every front. Years ago, and when George Bush II got in, he reduced the number of physicians in the VA by 19,000 doctors. He basically eviscerated the Veterans Administration organization. And, you know, to me, that's appalling. The reason that we have this country, the reason that this country remains what it is because of the people that are out there every single day defending this country, people in uniform. And we just had a short discussion about that before the show, and about how, you know, this country sometimes ignores its obligations to its people, and above all people are the veterans. And it's, I mean, you know, as someone who served, my father served in the Great War, and you know, I served, and I don't, you know, and when I see a veteran being ignored or not getting the services that they deserve, that is one of the, to me, and it's an obscenity that happens in the United States of America, because there are men, and as I said before the program, there are men dying every day, and women dying every day in Afghanistan and in countries throughout the globe. There are people being shot in recruiting stations by terrorists. And the lead news story is Caitlyn Jenner's makeup. You know, she has a series now, and it's I think the first show was how she learned how to put makeup on. Well, guess what? When the lead story on the national, you know, when the national news covers Caitlyn Jenner, rather than men who are coming home and women who are coming home in coffins and are being shot in recruiting stations, we've got to take a second look at what's happening in this nation, and we've got to take a second look at the mainstream media.
Well, you know, Chip, I think you're right there. And, you know, I have a family full of active and retired service personnel. And they all say the same thing, too. They don't get what they need, especially after their service. My uncle was involved in the Gulf War. His ship was hit by a Scud missile. We're lucky that he's still here. And, you know, I just can't see what we do to our veterans. But a small segue now, we got a little bit off the depressing and onto the more depressing. Many of you don't know this, but New York has just enacted legislation to make $15 an hour the minimum wage. This has also been enacted in Washington State. That's 2 states out of our union. How long will it be before it comes to the rest of the country? Now, the major corporations, such as Dunkin' Donuts, or Dunkin' Foods as they're known, McDonald's, Walmart, which is actually a supporter of the $15 an hour wage, minimum wage, has said that some of the outcomes of this, and this is for you people out there who screamed, you've got to have $15 an hour for a minimum wage. McDonald's is doing away with cashiers. There will be nobody on their front line. You will walk in, you'll walk up to a little touchpad, deet, 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 slide your card, pay for it, and you'll get your order. That's going to be it. Walmart is going to do the same thing, and the company which owns Stop and Shop, which is known as Ahold, which I'm not having to play on the words here.
Yeah, you're not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. Okay.
Exactly. It's AHOLD, Ahold, is also started that process on replacing cashiers in the supermarket with self-serve checkout. this is what's going to happen with this $15 an hour raise. So you're going to get the $15 an hour, but you are actually going to lose jobs.
Yeah, well, now you hit a real hot button with me. Now you hit a real hot button.
And that was the whole point of it, Chip.
Because that is absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
That is, because, big companies are going to eliminate jobs as much as they can. They don't want to pay anything. They don't want to pay $15 an hour. They don't want to pay 15 cents if they can get away with it. Because you know something? It's all about profit. Because let's look at Fall River. CJ, you listening now?
I'm always listening.
We're gonna have a history lesson here. Many, many years ago, and my mother worked over 55 years in a sewing shop. She started when I think she got 12 or 14 cents an hour. She lived through the Depression in the United States, and she worked for peanuts when people had no unions and no job security. And then they ultimately got something. And then all the mills moved out of Fall River. And why did they move out? The unions, the money. The people working were getting too much money. So let's move to North Carolina where there are no unions and they work for less. Well, guess what? After a few years, they're out of North Carolina. Go down to North Carolina. Where were they? They moved to China and Bangladesh. And now the Chinese factories are moving to Africa. Why? Because they're trying to get slave labor reinstituted. They continue to move jobs out where they can get massive profits and not pay anybody anything. I have a book that was written over 50 years ago that talked about the implementation of a universal wage for working people. Because the reality is big business wants all the money, and they want two classes in this society. They want the rich and the poor, and nobody in between, because it's all about profit. That's what drives them. That's what they work for. They don't care. You think the CEO of Caremark that makes $32.8 million a year gives two craps about the fact that they're getting more money for research and they're charging you double and triple what they charge in other countries for their own drugs? Why? Because they pay off the congressmen, they pay off the senators, they pay everybody off. And then they come up with this crap that it's an increase in wage that will break their backs. Well, guess what, morons? They've proven one thing. The more money people have, the more money they spend. And it stimulates the economy. Milton Friedman, the winner of the Nobel Prize for economics, said all taxes are regressive. The best way to improve an economy is give people money to spend. And as I said, how many times have I said it on this show? There was a time in Fall River where people didn't make a lot of money, but they had jobs. And what did we have? We had two higher-end men's shops in downtown Fall River, Empire Men's Shop and Sawyer's. We had restaurants all over the community. We had business. We had a lot more businesses than we get today. And it wasn't because the minimum wage is going to go up to $15. Yeah, small business might have a little bit of difficulty initially. But if it goes up incrementally, people will begin to spend more money because guess what? Poor people spend money. Rich people normally don't spend money except to go in Monaco. You know, how many cars can a rich guy buy? I mean, poor people spend money. You give them a little bit of money, they're so happy they go out to eat. They'll buy something. That's what stimulates an economy. And there are many economists who truly believe that the Depression was caused because of the lack of paying people a livable wage and because the stock market wanted to make all the money. So I don't want to hear that baloney. It's another con that they shove down the people's throat. And you know something? Goebbels is still alive. But except his name isn't Goebbels anymore. It's the Chamber of Commerce. It's the CEOs of these major companies that say, you know, you're going to make us eliminate jobs because we have to pay too much. Horse manure.
Well,
Horse manure.
You know, Chip, it's always the same. But I had to bring that up because I knew it would set that fire off.
Well, that will definitely elicit a response from me.
But, you know, this is what's happening. And people don't realize that, you know, a $15 an hour wage is a wonderful thing. But when you have a city that chooses not to work, it doesn't matter if it's 15 or 25. You have a bunch of people in Fall River saying, I don't want to work. And they've given up. And they say, oh, the unemployment rate's going down. No. You know what? Calculate the true unemployment rate. Take in the people who are on the public dole. Put them into the unemployment rate because they're unemployed. Remove the retirees, remove the disabled, okay, and put the rest of the people in there. That's your true unemployment rate.
Well, it's still almost double, CJ.
Yeah,
and the fact
exactly.
is, listen, their ability to manipulate fact and to come up with half truths is amazing. It's just like it knows no bounds. I mean, look at our mayor. He said that people have to realize that you just have to pay taxes. We should raise taxes every single year. That's the way it is. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Government is not supposed to be a giant employment agency that you can employ all your friends with, give them six-figure salaries while the people in this city are making $15,000 and 22% of the people are living for a household income of under $15,000. No, government is a necessary evil. It should be small, it should be streamlined, and its primary function is to deliver essential services to the people in that community whose money they're using. But no, they keep feeding you this line, and they're trying, as Goebbels said, if you tell a big enough lie often enough, people will begin to believe it. And that's what they do. They're blaming their mismanagement and their inability to control money on the people. It's our fault. We don't pay enough taxes. That is crap. This city is making $42 million more than it did 5 years ago. It's bringing in 42. Where did it go? It's gone. It's like a giant vacuum cleaner. The more you give those clowns, the more they spend. And as I said again, you get like Friedman. I love Milton Friedman because he knew it. Like he said, you give the government the Sahara Desert and they'll run out of sand in 5 years. Well, you know something? It's not our fault. It's your fault. But it is our fault that we let you sit in those seats. And come September and November, it's about time to change that.
Oh, well, Chip, you preach to the choir all the time over here. You know that. And you obviously read the column about we've forgotten our heritage. A lot of quotes in there from Thomas Jefferson, as you noticed. But, they're so true. I mean, the times aren't different today. We're reliving a revolution. The problem is that there are no revolutionaries that want to come together and fight the good fight. Instead, they want you and I to fight it.
Well, look, it's difficult and it's very these times are difficult, but we've had difficult times before. So since we're on quotes, I'll give you a quote about what it is. The ultimate measure, Martin Luther King, Jr. The ultimate measure of man is not where he stands in times of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And that's where we are. It's time to stand up and be counted, voters.
Yes, it is.
Let's go kick some butt in November.
There you go. Hey, thanks for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. You have a great day. We'll see you Wednesday.